Good morning. Can everyone hear me? You hear me go okay? All right. I guess before we get started, I think what kind of hit me this morning when you were talking about some congregations think because they're so small that they can't do the Lord's work. And that's not the case here at Somerset. And I shared with him another small congregation that they have 9 people that worship there. When Jocelyn and I were there, I gave a MAGI presentation there. We made 11 in the whole congregation. So they decided that they wanted to do the MAGI project. And their goal was to do 50 boxes, which I thought was a pretty big task for them to do. But they did it. I came and collected those 50 boxes, and what they shared with me is when they went out to buy different items, they'd buy 50 pair of underwear or something. And they'd have 50 pair, well, I guess that would put 100 in the box, 100 pair of underwear in a shopping cart. That usually gets someone's attention. So through that, and them talking out in the community about what they're doing, in a year's time, they had 3 baptisms. Those people are still going to worship there, and they're part of the church right now. So just when you think that you're not making an impact, and sometimes in the kingdom of God, you don't get to see your impact. You know, you may speak to someone today, and then a year later, they might come and want to study with you or something, and you don't get to see that impact. But that's okay. It's not about us. It's about God's kingdom. So those things are just amazing. I know that Lisa's talked about going to Honduras, and right, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. With our journey of a MAGI box. But just always keep in mind that you don't have to do everything today, if that makes sense. You know, just because you're working in the Lord's kingdom and you're sowing the seed, someday that'll be planted. Someone plants and someone waters. Isn't that what Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians? So, with that being said, we're going to move on here. The journey of a MAGI box. Now, if you have any questions, because I think this little presentation that we put together, I think just says it all. It's amazing. It's like, I don't know, it speaks to me. So I thought I'd share it with you. But the journey of the MAGI box, the joint effort of 39 congregations. So it takes 39 of us to make this all work. Hundreds of helping hands, thousands of pencils and toothbrushes, and countless prayers, and most importantly, the power of our Almighty God. So, with 50 MAGI boxes that came from, oops, that's a wrong number. I think you guys had 120. Yeah, I'm sorry. I discounted what you guys did. 120 MAGI boxes came from Somerset right here. So the help of 38 other congregations that New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and there's actually one way down in North Carolina. Jane's friend from college brings that up, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. But we filled MAGI boxes. 4,920 MAGI boxes went down to Honduras. So they're in the process of going from here all the way down to Honduras, and then we're going to get those in December to pass out. And I'll explain why it takes that long. But over 19,000 pencils, almost 10,000 pair of underwear, and almost 5,000 outfits and personal hygiene items and toys. Example, here's Valley Cities Church of Christ. I was up there in Sayre, Pennsylvania, which is up on the New York border above Williamsport. They were having their packing day before I came and picked them up. So it's not just you. There's a lot of congregations. The Woodsfield Church of Christ in Ohio, we're loading up their boxes. And here's the little tiny Gastonia church in North Carolina. They bring them up every year. And they bring them to Whitehall. Okay, now we get a little crazy at Whitehall. We have my dad actually built this box right here. That's our collection box. So when people bring items in, they drop them in the collection box, and that's how we collect the majority of our items here at Whitehall. I don't know why. My dad worked in construction all of his life. He says, hey, I think you need a box, and it needs to sit right there because there was nothing there before. And my dad, who is 90 years old as of March, said, we built this 10 years ago, and when we started this, he said, you need a MAGI box there, and you need a couple of pictures up there, and this is how we're going to get the congregation involved. And who am I to say no to, at that time, an 80-year-old man? He still tells him what to do. He's 90 years old. Okay, this is Whitehall, again, getting a little crazy as we collect our items, and we put them out on the pew on Sunday evening after worship. And they're out, and we leave a little part, and everybody has to squeeze together there in the front left there for Wednesday night Bible class, and then we have to have it all cleaned up Saturday afternoon and get ready for worship. So we put everything out there. As we do it, we just go down one aisle and back up the other with a box, and everybody puts their items in the box. I'm not saying that's the way you have to do it. Every congregation does it different, but that's just how we do it. And then all those items, the reason why I have to stay out there is because from Monday morning till Friday afternoon, we inspect every single box that comes from Somerset, from Long Island, New York, from Sayre, from all over, from Richmond, Virginia. They all have to come to Whitehall, and this probably takes the majority of our time. It's inspected. So we appreciate it when you follow the checklist and put all the right items, and Somerset's spot on. I have every year that I go and speak, I have to rip the Band-Aid off and tell everybody, hey, you gotta, I do that at first so then we can talk about the good stuff later, but I have to let them know because it takes a lot to go through almost 5,000 boxes and take out the things that aren't supposed to be in there, because people still put in bubbles because they think kids need bubbles to play with, which is, I want them to have it too, but they just can't, because that liquid will just leak down to another box and another box until it destroys several of the boxes. So we go through those and inspect all those, and that team right there is, the bomb. Do you still say the bomb? Is there a better word for that? So they pretty much make it all happen. That takes a lot to get that done. That takes just about all week. And then once we inspect those boxes, then that's my job, because no one wants to do it. I have to put 10 boxes into a big HHI box and tape that all up, and we put those aside until they're all done. And then they all have to be put on pallets, shrink wrapped, and then the earlier picture here, that is inside this door right here. So we take those and we take them down and store them in the fellowship hall until we have them all done. And we have to do that because that fills up our entire fellowship hall, and we can't do anything until we get those out. There he goes. And then we drag them back out of the fellowship hall, and they need to go on a Penske truck. And that's Gavin. One of our teenagers likes to help out. Now, our congregation used to pay for me to rent a truck, and I'd have to make 3 trips to Nashville every year in the next week after we packed them up. And that cost about $6,000. Now, I don't know why. I guess the Spirit does talk to you, because I was sitting on the couch one evening, and is anybody aware of Camp Concern? Does anybody know anything? That's our camp that we support. Well, I take care of the truck, and the trucking company stores it, or I'm sorry, the trailer. The trucking company comes out, doesn't charge us anything, takes and stores it on their location throughout the year, and then we use it for 1 month in July, and they don't charge us a thing. So I just decided to call up Fran, and I said, "Hey, Fran, just curious, it costs a lot of money to get these boxes down to Nashville. What do you think it would cost if I had 25 pallets of the MAGI boxes?" I told them about those earlier. "And if I bring those to your site, what would it cost for us to ship those to Nashville?" I could hear him using his adding machine on his desk there, and he says, "I don't know, with the high prices of the gasoline, that'll be about $1,900. So, little mouse on this wheel inside my brain is like, well, I can save the congregation $4,000, then we should be able to use that for MAGI, right? So this year we saved the congregation $4,000, so we're going to use that towards this. We actually used it to sponsor a well this year. It's what we use. We use that, some other missions money, and we sponsored a well. So that's what we used that for this year. But it's amazing. You try to do everything yourself, and you find out it's cheaper if someone else does it, which just blew my mind. I would have never thought in a million years it would be less for someone else to do that than us. That's the inside of the warehouse there in actually Bell Vernon, Pennsylvania. So they all got loaded on there off of our truck. I had to make 3 trips there to do that. And then they finally arrived in Nashville, Tennessee. That's Nancy waving, saying, "Hey, we got them." So they make it from Somerset to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to Nashville. And then what's crazy is I have up here next stop Honduras, but that's not true. Okay, at Nashville, they have to hire a company come in for a shipping container. And they fill that shipping container with about 5,000 boxes each. So that's why that number I've been trying to, my goal has been to get to 5,000 because that's a whole shipping container. Okay, and you've seen them before, pictures. I'm going to show some here at the end with the dots on the boxes. 3 shipping containers goes down to Honduras, so about 15,000. So my goal was to get them all in one shipping container, the first one that goes down there, so when we get down there, the first ones we see are ours. Because sometimes, and I'll explain in a minute, that the other 2 or 3 don't come down till later. Okay, so we take ours down in the beginning of the summer, and then they work on a skeleton crew, and in the end of the summer, that's when most people bring their MAGI boxes to Nashville. So I make sure that ours get there in May or the end of May, beginning of June, so they can be on the first shipping container. So when we go down, at least that first shipping container gets there. Because we think about it, if it leaves Nashville in June, July, August, September, October, November, December, it takes 7 months to get down there. And you think to yourself, really? Why does it take that long? Well, I'm going to sidetrack here just a little bit because my oldest daughter, Jocelyn, and I did a little study, and we wrote down every city that the Bible tells you that Jesus went to. And again, this doesn't mean anything. It's just a approximate. So does anybody know how many miles Jesus walked during his ministry on earth? Approximately. Anybody want to give it a guess? 2,000. A little more. 35. Close. 3,125 miles. Do I know is that exactly right? Probably not, because everything's not written down in Scripture of what Jesus did. So if you're just taking what's written down, it's about 3,125 miles. So I just approximately, how many miles does it take to get the box from Somerset to Honduras? It's kind of funny. Approximately 3,125 miles. And again, that's approximate because I don't have the exact miles from the ports. So if you start here in Somerset, get it to Whitehall, down to Nashville, Tennessee, gets in that shipping container, and it goes to the Bahamas. So it sits there in the port. So I guessed I know how many miles it is from Somerset to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to Nashville, and Nashville to Savannah, and then it gets on the ship, and then it just sits in the Bahamas there. So I got some nautical miles approximately where the port was in Bahamas, and then it just sits there. We don't have any control over it until Honduras says, okay, you can bring it. So we don't have any control over that. That's just the way it is, and that's why it takes 7 months to get down there. And then it goes to the bottom right-hand side of that circle there in Honduras is where I think Port Lampera is at. And then it has to be trucked down to the very bottom of Choluteca down here, where that circle is right there. So we're down in the southeast corner of Choluteca. And if I had to be honest with you, if there's a mission trip you want to go on and you're a little not sure, it's this one. We stay in facilities better than we stay in at Camp Concern when we go out to camp. But we're right down here and we're right along the Nicaragua border. So that's where the boxes end up, approximately 3,125 miles from here. So that's where they'll end up there. Now, this past February, we're just starting to work with the group up here in the department or the state, Olancho. And Catacombs is the largest village. And there's a church out of Atlanta, Georgia, that has support the hospital. They have an actual hospital. I mean, they have the emergency room. They have an allergist. I mean, everything you can think of, they have a doctor down there to take care of them. There's a lot of rehab facilities because there's a lot of drug and alcohol problems in Honduras. So that's there too. So we're just starting to work with them, but the mission trip that we'd be going on is probably going to be the one down there, where we'll be the one in Choluteca. So that's how the boxes get there. I don't know, I think it's neat because There's a reason why we put those dots on the boxes. Okay, it's so that when I come here, I can show you that the boxes from this area actually made it to Honduras. If you have any questions, please raise your hand, because I'm sure I didn't cover everything. And this is my favorite thing to do, is show as many pictures as I can. See the little dots on the pictures, on the boxes right there? That's the boxes that came from our area. And in our congregation, that's what we use the 4 and 5-year-olds. Okay, they're not going to hold the attention span to build a box or roll clothes on a working day or anything like that. So it doesn't matter if they put 1 dot on the box or if they put 5,000 dots on the box. They're doing something. They feel like they're a part of it. So you have, in your congregation, you got 4 and 5-year-olds helping out. My mother, who is 87 years old, I probably told this story before, but she takes the soap, puts them in the soap box, wraps the washcloth around it, puts it in a Ziploc bag. She does them all for our congregation. Shirley takes all the toothbrushes and puts them in the toothbrush holders. Holly sharpens all the pencils and puts the erasers on. So when they come just Sunday morning. They're the older ladies, but they're doing something. They're a part of the congregation. So anybody from the little children to the old ladies, if I can say that without getting in trouble, they're all being a part of putting a MAGI box together. So they get excited when they see these little children here receiving the boxes. I don't know, I just get excited when I'm down there and I see a box with a dot on it, I'm taking a picture. I don't know how you guys do it here, but then we'll have work days. Like, you don't have to do it, but Jordan's father works for a trophy company, so he gets us the bottles. They're water bottles, and then we usually put John 3:16 on there and a little cross. And then during a work day, we'll put all the little stuff in there. The pencil sharpeners, the toothbrushes, the toothpaste. What else goes in there? But all the little stuff on a work day goes in there, and then they're off the checklist. You don't even have to think of them anymore. They're just in a water bottle. We have work day. We roll our clothes and rubber band them. Why do we do that? Because we just set them aside and we know exactly how many we have. Like I said, Whitehall's a little crazy. I don't expect anybody to be like us, but we do 1,500 boxes a year, which is insane. What the congregation got behind it the first year, and it just kept growing. The first year, with everybody together, I don't even know how many we did. We did 567 boxes the first year. And what year did you start? I have the information, but not in my head. Do you remember? It was pretty close to our first year. 19? 18? That sounds about right. We started in 16. So it grew from 567 boxes with 10 congregations. Right now, for this last collection in May, there's 39 congregations, and we did 4,920 boxes. So, and that's not, I don't think it's any of us, because I've never asked anybody to do a presentation. It's usually someone talks to someone and they say, hey, you should hear this about MAGI. And then I'll get a phone call and say, hey, can you speak at this congregation? Like, I think it was Scott Saunders that we just went to lunch. You know, it wasn't me, so I can't take any credit for any of this. I'm just I guess a facilitator just like I am right now. I'm just putting that, but God's doing all the work. It's not anything that I'm doing. It's not, yes, we have to work for the Lord. Yes, we have, 6 or 8 inspectors. Yes, we have 39 congregations, but that's collectively just like anything else we do in the kingdom of God. We're just doing our small part, and then look what God can pull all together. Now, that doesn't send chills up your spine. I don't know what does, because it's not any one individual that's doing this. It's God bringing everybody in his kingdom together to do it.
I have a question, Mark.
Great. I love questions.
All right. So, started off with 500 and some boxes. Now it's up over 4,000. It expanded from a handful of congregations to, 39? You said 39?
Yes.
So, is each year a record from the previous year?
Yes.
Or is there fluctuations? So, every year has been a record.
It's
and this is kind of interesting to me because I hear a lot of people saying, people generally think when the economy is doing bad, or it feels like the economy is doing bad, that people just stop giving or they can't give. But socially, like all the research shows, it's the exact opposite.
Correct.
When times are hard, people give more. They're more generous. People, and I don't know what it is. It's just really fascinating.
Yes.
But every year that the economy is bad, or like right now, we have the war that's on and off. Giving is last year. What are the GoFundMe, like the crowdsourcing sites?
Yes.
Every year they break the record from the previous year. Last year in 2025 was an all-time record of money coming into the GoFundMe platform.
Yes.
So I just thought that was pretty cool, and I was curious with Healing Hands if that's on track for everything else.
I believe it. Well, it's the same thing overseas. Where do you think the church is growing the most?
Where they're poor.
Where they're poor, because Jesus came for the poor. He didn't come for the rich.
Yeah.
The church is growing significantly in India, Honduras, multiple countries in Africa. Why? Because it seems like those are the people that need Jesus Christ. Here in the United States, not as many people need Jesus Christ. Because, hey, look what I did. I have this job, I work hard, I make all this money, I did this. When if you just need to take a step back and know that God blessed you with that, now what are you going to do with it? Are you going to just hold on to it for yourself? Or are you going to share those blessings with other people? And I think that's how I start my other presentation, is basically that God has blessed us with so much in this country. And if you ever do get a chance, well, you went to Haiti, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, they're not doing too good down there as far as how they live. Same thing in Honduras. Okay. When you see these pictures here, they all have nice clothes on. Do you know why? Because that's the clothes we brought them from last year. And they're going to wear their best. Whatever they have, they're going to wear their best to come and get that MAGI box.
And they keep them clean. You look at how clean their clothes are.
Yes.
In poor countries, it's always super clean.
Yep. And they don't have a washing machine?
No.
That's the way you wash your clothes at home, right? By hand? But I just think it's amazing that what it has to go through to actually get to Honduras from here. All the different hands that it has to touch, and it still makes it there. This is kind of my favorite thing to do in Honduras, because when you hand a box to a little kid, they're exciting. Like, they smile, they just can't believe it's like a Christmas present that they're opening up. And sometimes teenagers, you're too cool for school, right? You want to act all serious and don't. Well, nobody likes to hand out the boxes to the teenagers. They like to hand them out to the little cute kids. which is awesome. So that's me. I like to do that because when they come up and get it, it's not free. I just hold on to it, and they have to try to pull it. First, they'll stand there like this, and I'll just walk away, and then they'll walk towards me because they know they're going to get the box. So then I'll hand it to them, and a couple of them get into it a little bit. We pull it back and forth, and then I let them have it after that. But just like anything, you got to have a little bit of fun. Just because the cute little kid wasn't the one you get to walk up and hand it to, you got to have fun with the other children, the other kids. Now I talked about Jordan, the guy. He's on the MAGI committee with me too. His dad owns that trophy shop. Well, they made little stickers. That's a little sticker of West Virginia there. So they put little stickers on their box to show which ones they have. And if you want to put a sticker on your box, you can put whatever you want on that box. You can put nothing on the box and we'll dot them and you'll just go in with the pull. If you want to put a special sticker or draw a certain picture on there and maybe we can capture that when we're down there, when we take pictures, you can do whatever you want. Some get a little crazy there. Is it Allegheny Valley? One of the ladies works with mentally handicapped children. So they bring them in there and they color on the boxes. They're part of the congregation. They can do part of something. Everybody can do something. Any questions? Am I going too fast? All right. All right. This is the first place that I ever went to in 2018, the first year I went to. And if you look at, there's Eli, who is, I got to go back now. That's Gavin and Eli right there. He's an artist. Well, he says he's an artist and he draws stuff, so I guess that makes him not artist, but he draws those little faces and everything that he comes in contact with. So that's one of the boxes that he drew on. And this is Julio. He's one of the preachers. I think the last time I was here, I talked about the 4 preachers that are in Honduras that work in the mountains here. Julio is one of them. I think the last time I was here, I'm getting old, I lost his name. I'll think of a second. His daughter received her first MAGI box last year. He graduated in 2000 and what's this? 23 from the Chulateca School of Preaching. And this is just someone's property here. He's working with them, and they just became that was one of his first converts there in the mountains, and we were on their property handing out the box for everybody else in the community. This is one of the church buildings. Behind her is where the classrooms are at, and we worshiped in the building behind us here. And that's also Eli's. When he was dotting a few boxes, he said, well, it's easier just to draw a line on it. So, is there anybody thinking about it? Going on the mission trip in December from the congregation. So we have a couple over here.
In December?
Yes. Yeah. It's the 10th through the 16th.
Remind me the cost per individual.
About $1,800. Yeah. I know that's always a challenge, but I throw that out there just because Yeah, the 10th through the 16th.
Yes.
Okay, so think about that. You know, I can't take everybody, but think about that if that's something that you really, really want to do. If you're worried, all you do is we'll fly from Pittsburgh to either Miami or Charlotte. We don't even fly into Chultepec anymore, Tegucigalpa anymore. It's actually had the second shortest runway in the world. And the first time we landed, everybody started to clap. I didn't understand why, because they have this. Yes. So we actually land on, they have a brand new airport. It's flat. It's right beside the Air Force Base. So the worst part of the whole mission trip is the 5-hour drive south. Okay, we stop halfway, have lunch, and then get that. Once you're down there, we stay on this beautiful ranch that Jared Brown purchased back in the late 90s when he just went down on a mission trip. He was supposed to take over his father's company. I don't know if he actually did that, but fell in love with the people down there, bought the ranch. He employs about 100 Hondurans there. We stay on his ranch. They're just wooden buildings, concrete floor. Actually, they're ceramic. The ladies actually have TVs in there, in their rooms. It looks just like a hotel room when you go in there. And then they have a beautiful outdoor patio, and they have the ladies that always gives us breakfast and dinner. So you have scrambled eggs and bacon in the morning, and you have chicken or beef in the evening. It's not really a mission trip, but it is. But we do spend out all day in the hot sun and the dusty roads, and they're not paved roads. Okay, so it's a little bumpy. And yes, you do have to eat a ham and cheese sandwich for lunch. Okay, it's really terrible. But it's a good time. You're hot and sweaty. When you get back, you want to take a shower and get ready for dinner. It's hot. But if there's a mission trip you want to go on, I've been on several other ones. This is the one you want to go on. It's a piece of cake. Let's see. How am I doing on time? Oh, how come time flies when you're having fun? Another picture with the dots on, and then I guess we'll have to wrap it up. And I always finish with this one. Jane wants to meet this little girl. I've had several pictures of her, and she always makes me put that picture last on every presentation. You'll see it in the sermon presentation too. Okay, any questions on where the MAGI box goes once it leaves here? I know it's a little chaotic. I roll in here with a Penske truck and we just throw the boxes up on there, and I go on to some other, and sometimes it's a little chaotic because you just have to hurry up and get that done because you're on a time schedule at the end of the year. Our end of the year is May, but so we might say hi, bye, and then we just meet at another time.
It was quick.
Yes.
So that's Mark you went from here to New York City.
Yes.
And the weather was bad when you were here. It was raining cats and dogs.
Yes, it was.
And you still rolled in, and we got the job done. And
yep, we went out to actually Long Island, New York, the northern part of the island. And as I'm driving up there, they have freeways and expressways. I think there's two different ones. And I can't tell you the difference, but I know that trucks can't be on one of them. So every exit I'm going, it says, the height limitation was 7 foot. Well, I'm taller than 7 foot. So we went by about 10 exits where we're supposed to be, and had to swing all the way back around, and ran into a couple bridges that we couldn't go underneath. But we finally got there, and I asked them why. You could have told me that. You could have shared this information with me. But we picked their boxes up. Then we went up to Sayre, Pennsylvania. and over to Somerville and back. And I think just a couple days later, I went to Richmond. There's 5 congregations down there we picked up from down there.
How many people can go on a mission trip? You said you're-
Well, we have right around 14 to 16, but I'm not the only one. Okay, so we all have to communicate and take what we can. We got to give and take a little bit. You know, I can say that, I'd like to take 14, and then, Woody would say, I got 5 to take. We have to kind of work together. So if that's my fault, I did that. So if you want to go, the earlier you tell me, the better. But I understand everybody has to work things out. So, are you going? You two going together? Yeah, okay. She went, yes. Questions concerning MAGI or Walk for Water or anything else? I think this is where you cut me off, right?
This is our break. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, you're welcome.